Grad trips are indeed growing in popularity, but are they considered a rite of passage? Indeed, many fresh graduates feel entitled to travel first and start work later. Some even seek permission from their future employers to push back their first day of work.
If your employer wants you to start work early and it clashes your grad trip, just say no. You have no other chance to do it. Just say no. Ask them to hold the place for you. They'll hold it for you. Don't worry. And just go and enjoy yourself.
What is your view of graduates? Some graduates, they tell their employers, wait for me, let me start work later so I can go on my grad trip.
As in ask my employer to, no, never.
Why not?
I think we're quite irresponsible in a way, so I definitely try to get things such that I can go on my holiday then start work instead of asking my employer to put off work.
I say why not? Ultimately, the employer, when you work in a company, you're not like a slave or something. Yeah, so if your employer's cool with it and you guys can start maybe 3 months later, why not, right?
I think that's completely fair, in all honesty, because I personally feel that graduates who go for a grad trip are usually quite happy when they come back. So I think employers, most of them seem to be flexible with that. They do allow people to join late, sometimes even a year later if they really, really want to travel for good causes.
What then do recruiters and employers think of fresh graduates delaying starting work to go on graduation trips?
Can you share with us what are the trend, of fresh grads looking for jobs today?
I think there's certainly been a change in how quickly they start to look into the job market. Graduates going back 2, 3, 4 years ago would have been looking to enter the workforce and considering their job applications perhaps at the beginning of the year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we've seen probably a 1 to 2 month gap now.
So if I were a fresh graduate and I'm looking for a job, what's a reasonable length of time? How much extension?
Look, 2 months is not an unreasonable request. If you think about mid to senior level appointments, that's the typical notice period. So most employers are reasonably flexible with that.
However, if an employee asks to take an extended period of leave during their probation period, that could be seen as unreasonable.
Early on in the process, I think that's a bit of a hard ask. I think if it had been something negotiated or discussed during the interview process, I think that would be more reasonable. But once you've actually started, really inside certainly the first 6 months, that's a bit unreasonable, I think, to ask. I think graduates need to bear in mind as well, there's a lot of investment that goes into training in that initial 3, 6, 9 month period, which is the biggest risk for a company as well, that they invest in that and somebody loses momentum, they lose continuity on projects.
Graduation trips don't just benefit the fresh graduates by blowing off some steam. Recruiters say such trips may broaden young minds and enable the fresh graduates to develop new skills and perspectives.
How important do you think is a grad trip to a fresh graduate?
Look, I think in the modern workplace, I think employers are looking a lot more for people that are well-rounded, and I think if you've not had some overseas travel or perhaps experienced a culture outside of your own, you perhaps are a little bit more limited than perhaps somebody that has. It gives you new experiences, gets you to question your own work environment, and brings a new skill set that's valuable to a potential employer.
Would you say that someone who has gone on a grad trip has an edge over someone who hasn't?
Personally, I say yes. Every window of opportunity to know another person, another culture, another country, you learn something, and nothing is better than if you were to visit the country, meet the people, go through the whole experience, than to read it from books or watching it from televisions or in the internet.
There's no doubt that a grad trip experience is valued by employers. However, the issue of financing one's expenses for a grad trip remains a big problem for some. These youths share their financing stories and saving tips with Razor TV. Stay tuned for more in our next clip.